Welcome on stage our one and only Michelin star in Ho Chi Minh City, Peter Cường Franklin from Anan Saigon. The second one I would like to invite is one of the legendary chefs of Vietnam. No one else, David Thái. The first one is my honor to have her today. Thảo Na is one of the rare female chefs who have made such a successful career in Europe and France. Welcome Thảo Na to Robb Report Conference. And the next duo, young, talented, very handsome, is Chef Matteo Fontana from Vittorio Saigon. And Chef Quang Dũng from Chapter Dining Grill from Hanoi. He flies such a long way to join us today. So welcome all to our panel today.
Yes, okay.
Here, yes. We on set, right?
Yes.
First of all, I would like to express my thank you on behalf of Robb Report Vietnam. Thank you so much for all of the honorable chefs who spent your time to join with us on this afternoon. So to open the second panel about high quality ingredients for fine dining restaurant in Vietnam, I would like to start with Peter. Peter, like as a pioneer in Vietnam, who has brought Vietnamese street food to world fine dining level. So how do you think the importance of combining local products and with the imported ingredients to make the culinary shining?
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to thank Robb Report and Chris for organizing this. I think, for when we look at Vietnamese cuisine trying to move to the regional and global stage, we need not only the chef, the ingredients and all that stuff, we also need the media to really expand the message across outside of Vietnam. So this is very important. After Michelin and more of these events, I think will help to push our culinary to the world. In terms of ingredient, I think, at Anan Saigon, what we do is we do modern Vietnamese cuisine. What is modern, what is Vietnamese, and now we're talking about fine dining. Sometimes I'm not sure what is fine dining. Let's say for me, when I'm eating on the street food outside for my favorite noodle lady, I consider that fine dining. So sometimes it's difficult. But I think for us, we apply, it's essentially more like an 80-20 rule, which is first looking at about 80% of the really good quality ingredient that's inside Vietnam, whether they be in Đà Lạt, in Phu Quoc for the pepper, or let's say in some parts of central Vietnam for the seafood, or the north of Vietnam for some spices. So that's our start with the fresh quality ingredient we can get access to. Then when it comes to the second part is, let's say when we do fine dining, we do need to apply luxurious ingredient. Let's say truffle, caviar, foie gras, wagyu, and also to some extent sea urchin as well too. These products are not readily available or not the high quality that we need. That means we would have to use imported ingredient to supplement what we do. And I think it's important now. I mean, the ingredient, let's say for Chef SÄRNG and Thierry, for them very important. Let's say for Matteo also too, let's say they're very specific to, let's say, Italian cuisine has a certain ingredient, or let's say French has certain unique ingredients that's required. For Vietnamese too, let's say, for me, it's more about it's the way of cooking or the Vietnamese flavor. Let's say, I give you an example. Let's say we do, let's say, a SÄRNG, which is the grilled pork chop outside in the street of Saigon. Now, does that have to be a Vietnamese pork chop to make it a Vietnamese dish? I don't think so. It would be nice if the quality, but let's say we have Iberico pork chop or Curabuda pork chop, that's better quality. We consider using that, but we always start with the local ingredient first. So I think that's very important because the ingredients, some of them are important, but they don't necessarily define the cuisine. So we try to get a balance between very good quality local ingredient and some imported when required for a certain type of dish that we do.
Thank you. So, Peter, I see you have a lot of recipes that combining imported ingredients and local products. So, can you share with me how you can combine both these ingredients, but still be able to keep the original flavor of Vietnamese recipes?
I think one of the most important things as a chef is understanding the ingredient. Let's say, for example, if we have a young Vietnamese chef, I'm on Top Chef, so I can see some of the examples for when I'm a judge. Let's say they really want to use a high-end ingredient, let's say Wagyu, but they haven't worked with it too much, or let's say foie gras or truffle, they don't know how to use it. No matter how expensive a good ingredient is, they can really mess up the dish if they don't understand the ingredient. On the contrary, let's say Western chef, they want to make the dish more Vietnamese. Let's say they want to use the fish sauce for their dishes. This can be quite dangerous if it's not used properly. So I think most important really, first is understand the ingredient when you're working with it so that you know what to do and what the ingredient can do and what the ingredient cannot do. And then I think when we're putting the dish together, I think as a chef, we must understanding the ingredient and then how to work with it. So whether it be a Vietnamese ingredient or Western ingredient is similar. But if, let's say in Vietnam, if we grow up eating, let's say, certain type of fish, let's say, or fish sauce or pepper from Phu Quoc, we live with this in our life, it's kind of in our blood. So we don't have to learn too much, But I think we do have to be more careful when we're using an ingredient that is imported, that's not in Vietnam. It's quite easily to not use this ingredient properly, then the dish will have some problems.
Would you like to share with us something about one of your famous recipes, chocolate bonbon with nước mắm of Vietnam? Yes. Yeah, this is interesting recipe for me.
I think something like that. Vietnam, we don't have a strong tradition of dessert. Normally we eat, let's say, chè, which is mainly as a snack during the day. But now for us, when we're doing a meal that is, let's say in Vietnam, a Vietnamese fine dining, it requires something sweet at the end, which is more traditional in the Western fine dining. Let's say when we look at particularly French fine dining, you have chocolate or something sweet or cheese at the end. In Vietnamese, we don't have that. Normally we eat fruits and maybe just some tea. Now, in order for us to really try to move the Vietnamese cuisine forward into the regional global stage, sometimes we have to relook at the format or let's say, so when we do a tasting menu, for example, we do include some chocolate at the end, which is not traditional, but for me it's important that we do. But we try to do it in a Vietnamese way. We're using the chocolate. This is from our friend Maru. This is the local single origin chocolate from Vietnam to start with, very high quality. Secondly, we take something like a French dish, it's called like a beurre salé, or in English, it's like a salted caramel, which is really classic flavor combination. And now all we're doing quite simple. We're taking very high quality chocolate. We're making a salted caramel instead of using salt. We're using fish sauce, which seems quite strange at first, but it's actually not quite strange, but it's a classic formula. Now it's really, to do this, we have to understand the caramel and how we make using the fish sauce as well to manage, control it. So I think, so it took some work for us to find the right fish sauce to use and also to create that kind of balance between the dark chocolate versus the caramel sugar and then the addition of the fish sauce to give you an extra umami that you would not get normally with the salt.
And recently you just launched the chili sauce. By your own recipe, your own creativity, so to accompany with your bottle pho. So would you like to share something about that? The chili sauce.
Oh, right.
Yes, with your stamp on it.
I think one of the things that's very important for Vietnamese food is particularly pho, is we have a sauce called tương ớt, which is our chili sauce in the north of Vietnam. Is very different from the south. For example, in the north of Vietnam, the tương ớt is more vinegar driven. And it's also a little bit more salt-driven. In the South, some people say it's too sweet, but I would say it's a little bit more sugar-driven to balance some of the spice level that's in the Southern Vietnamese cuisine. The Southern Vietnamese cuisine is closer to Thai cuisine in terms of different herbs and spices, so you need a bit more sugar to balance it. So what we have done is, this is kind of during COVID, I have a lot of time in my hands, so, and to do some fermentation. We have a small lab that we do, which is really just an extra room inside a restaurant. It's not that formal. So we use some testing. So for me, seeing the different way of approaching, so I created a tương ớt that is very Vietnamese, incorporates some of the flavor, the way of eating from the north of Vietnam and the south of Vietnam together something that is what I believe to be more balanced, that addresses the salt level, the vinegar level, the sugar level. The other idea is to really to be able to take something that is spicy into the, let's say, fine dining restaurant. Let's say when we're doing fine dining, we're serving wine, we're serving other alcohol. We don't want the spice level to kill the palate in the mouth. So we created something that the spice level doesn't last too long. That it's got the right amount of balance between the acidity and also the sugar level and the vinegar level. And the garlic also too. These are the key ingredient in a chili sauce. So I think it's still a little bit work in progress, and I have my secret ingredient inside this also too. But I think the idea is to take something that's very important to Vietnamese cuisine, the idea of the tương ớt, and try to do something new and different with it to push it, because tương ớt is easy. You see on the street of Vietnam and so on, it tends to be a very cheap, inexpensive ingredient. You just pour on basically like a Western ketchup, except it's a little bit more spicy. But we want to really look at something important like this so that we can take that chili sauce and put it into a fine dining restaurant, and it's not going to kill the whole tasting menu.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Peter, for your sharing. Talking about combining Vietnamese ingredients and Western ingredients, I would like to ask Chef David Thái. You are master in Western cuisine and also make your identity with Vietnamese food too. So I would like to ask you how you can combine local spices and make Western, especially French food, shining and creative in your way. Yeah.
So actually, I will share you with my story. Since I come here from Hyatt, I went to SÄ. So in this time, 2005, it was very hard for us as a chef, Vietnamese blood, training in Dubai, in Spain, to understand more about Vietnamese cuisine and spices. We adopt immediately our knowledge and the market. So it's only after year staying in Vietnam and staying and eating Vietnamese food, but working for high hospitality, 5-star hotel, or resort, 6 cents, whatever. And then I found out that it's quite hard to buy a main product from the market and to cook as we want in the Western cuisine. So the most thing we face hard a little bit, the habits of the farmer in Vietnam, how they feed the beef, how they feed the fish. We was quite shocked a little bit about that. So that's why we move very quickly to the import products, which is more adapt to our cooking style and our taste. But today I can see, after 25 years in Vietnam and doing different property and doing also consulting, I'm trying to use more Vietnamese ingredient, which is very fantastic to help the people, to let them also to understand why you have to do that for us. And I wish I can make everybody understand in the same way. If we want the good product, organic or feeding in the right way, we have ourselves to push that. So that's the vendor today in Vietnam will go for our domain. And as SÄNG say, yeah, I think the vegetable has a long way to go. As today, protein, vegetable are more concerned about our dietetic. Healthy cuisine are also more concerned also. So I'm more interested on a healthy aroma. I found out in Vietnam when I was in Dubai, and I was speaking to the association that in Vietnam we have something very interesting. We don't use a lot of spice. The spice comes from natural. When I come to Vietnam in 2004, working for SÄNG, when you listen to the people, they always say to you, eat these herbs, it will be good for that. Eat this leaf, it will be good for that. I think in Vietnam we have something already out of the world. We're using herbal. So this is interesting.
So during this 25 years of your career, with a lot of creative recipes, so which is your favorite, or what kind of challenging recipe for you?
I think one thing I like is bò kho, is stew beef bò kho. But if you change the beef a little bit and you use like a top blade or maybe some short ribs on the side there, the beef is the taste. Just use lemongrass and cinnamon. Don't use coconut milk. The coconut water will be sweet. Use just the beef stock. And it will be lovely for me. So it's like I eat the bò kho but I don't have this sweetness for Vietnam, but I have the taste of the beef, which is more core, and then I fusion a little bit about the bread or the carrot. It's one of the things I always like in Vietnam is more core, but the beef that we're using is quite elastic. So that's why when I use the import one, I fall in love. I fall in love with the beef, and I can cook tomorrow and to warm it. But it's true that the Western chef, I found out that first of all, mostly when they come to Vietnam, they don't understand Vietnam yet. They suppose Vietnam has few spices, but we don't use a lot of spice in our house cuisine. It's more grill, it's more charcoal, it's more nhược mắm, marinade, and that's make a little bit difference. That's why I can see spices are less using in Vietnam, more aroma natural, wrapping, that's a thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Chef. So, as the trend of the world now, we're going local and going global. It means like all the chefs, especially chef in fine dining restaurant, going to sort local products. So Thảo Na, like with your restaurant Lavelle Library, so how you effectively source for local, very good local ingredients for your recipe?
Sorry, I'm a little nervous before the many people like this.
But please give her a big hand to support.
And maybe I have a chance because I'm Vietnamese and I come in France for the cuisine. So that's why I know very well the local ingredient, Vietnamese and besides French. And with me, my experience, I like go to the market and I like talk with the old lady and I ask them where is this products, where and can I find this one where and I told the ingredient if they are the artisan. So I like something the famous, something the artisan. So and maybe everybody think that we chose the local and ingredient because they are not expensive, but not like that. Because maybe me, I'm Vietnamese, so I like to use something the Vietnamese and something the French and marriage. Very good. So that's enough.
So the marriage of local ingredients and French ingredients.
Yeah, like the macaron chocolat foie gras, I use the chocolat marou. Yeah, with the foie gras in France and a little the miso Japanese. So
interesting.
And and I don't think that is this good, not, but when my friend, when she tried it the first, she told me, oh my God, it's so good. Really, tell me the truth. Yeah, truth. So, and now, still now, I use it in my menu for everybody, and 100% they tell me it's so good. So maybe I'm have a chance because I know very well what I can mix together. Yeah.
So is it challenging for you, like during the time you in France, Paris, like to convince your customer to believe in your recipe, which is combine local ingredients and Western ingredients?
I think the customer friends, they like to try everything. So one time I use the sweet potato. It's the products very cheap in Vietnam.
Khoai lang, right?
Yeah, khoai lang.
Yes.
So I make the khoai lang in the dessert, and they told me, oh my God, this with the dessert like the khoai lang nướng bơ đường, but it's caramelized. So they tell me, oh my God, that is so good. And I told them this product is the very cheap in Vietnam. You can look it for everywhere in the streets, so they can't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Thảo Na. Thank
so
you.
So with me, it's not the high quality, not the high expensive the product. Just it depends the chef if they know very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, the same idea with the Peter, like when you understand the ingredients, when create everything. So talking about ingredient and quite a unique ingredient, I would like to ask Dũng, because Quang Dũng and Chapter Dining and Grill very famous in combining unique tastes from northern mountainous region of ethnic people. So I would like to ask you, like, what's the challenge for you when you bring all the unique tastes to your fine dining menu?
Right. That's a tricky question. You know, like you send me that questions, I think a week before this, and I still haven't figured it out.
So you figured it out today.
Right. Again, I think the process is the same as any chef who came back to Vietnam, who like any Vietnamese chefs who traveled the world and like came back to Vietnam. We all share that same DNA. We all share that same culture. Very challenging. Okay, the challenges.
Yes.
Okay, so I can say there's three main challenges of doing a mountain sort of cuisine. The Northern Mountain cuisine, fine dining, is being the first one to do it, because being one of the earlier chefs to do it. I can't say I'm the first one. I've seen other chefs done it for. We are just known for it. So you got nobody that you can learn from. The ingredients are like they react in such like unsuspected way. More than often we turn to science, because at the end of the day, foods are just proteins, carbohydrate, sugar, and water, and fat. We would turn to food science, like how a wild duck, Vittorio, the protein from the wild ducks and the collagen from the wild duck react, and because unlike the domestic duck, the sort of the collagen in the wild duck is actually collagen type 5. The domestic duck is type 3. So if you say they are duck, they are the same duck, they are not. They are not the same, because the collagen are different, the proteins are different. But at the end of the day, they are just muscles, collagen, proteins, all of that, amino acid. And but the first problem being, one of the earlier chef to do it, create another problem, is that, the young chef who works for us, they don't know what to look for in terms of style. Do they have to be Vietnamese chef, like Vietnamese cuisine chef, or do they have to be sort of French chef to apply to work for Chapter? Well, the answer is both. If you have a little experience of, in French cuisine, or like in Italian cuisine, I mean the Western cuisine, and a little bit about Vietnamese cuisine, then definitely the job for you. The second challenge is the seasonality and the market availability in in those kind of field. For example, mắc mật, which is a Glossina, which is a tree, and the fruits only grows for a month, and that's it. Right now in season, củ niễng is really in season right now. Fantastic product, by the way. My mom's favorite, and my fiance favorite as well. củ niếng is in season for 3 weeks, and that's it. So more than often, we look at the obvious answer, which is the freezer. Unfortunately, sometimes if you freeze food, if you freeze food, not properly freeze, it creates other problems. So we look at the better method, which is fermentation. Our makmat is fermented for 3 months, and then we froze them. And then now, all the flavors, all the aromas are preserved, and then we can use them in sauce for our ducks, for example. And then, the third problem is that I think what we do is unexpected to the customers' taste and mind. So, what can we do, right? So trial and error, and put our reputation on the line for that. Still, that's what we love to do.
I find it not challenge, but maybe advantage for you guys, because you can surprise the diners. It's something like you can be pioneer, right?
Oh, mate,
it's a challenge.
Like surprises can be good or bad, right?
Yeah. So that's the art of you to convince them to believe in your recipe.
Yes. I mean, that's my fiance's problem. To convince people to come to chapter with an open mind, so that they can look at the ingredient, the same ingredient, or a very strange ingredient in a open mind way, and. More than often we pull it off. For some guests, they might expect something different from the same sort of mountain ingredient. And in terms of mountain ingredients, it's not just about the ingredient itself, but also it's about the techniques in preparing them. For example, for our ducks, we have to use the Vietnamese technique of cleaning the duck using the ginger liquor, and then we have to use the Chinese way of bathing the duck with hot water and vinegar. And then we rub the innards, we rub all the cavity of the duck with a bit of salt, and we dry age them for 5 days, for a week now. So it's just in terms of ingredients, it's there are specific techniques that go with it as well.
So you got 3 challenges when you try to
not just 3. Let's say mainly 3, but not just 3.
So I would like to ask, because there's kind of new ingredients that you apply in your menu. So I think the R&D process is very important for you and your team, right?
Absolutely.
Could you please share about it a lot?
Right. Okay. So the R&D at Chapters starts 2 months before the menu was actually launched. Every 4 months, we would launch a new menu, and it would be a new chapter. We would tell a new story. For this season, the menu is called the Mountain Village, and what we do is that we go up there and we experience a lot. So 2 months before the menu was launched, that was in August. We round up the team of not just chefs. So the team, the R&D team, have myself being the leader, and then the head chef at chapter, the sous chef at chapter, and then we have head of marketing, looking gorgeous over there, and then we have the sommelier, we have front of house. So we have everyone. So everyone chip in their ideas. We want to create the main storyline, and then we got inspired. Each dish is inspired by that storyline. Each dish is inspired by our travels, and mind you, it's not my own traveling, but everyone's traveling. Everyone have already been to the North Mountains of Vietnam, what is their sort of like key takeaways from their trips? Somebody say, I really love the bullfighting festivals. Oh, I really love the chap which is a Vietnamese chimichurri sauce. I really love the way the Thai people, the Vietnam Thai people, they smoked the meat, and that's I think that's a proper foundation, proper beginning for any sort of menu, because it's not just in the chef's hearts. It's we look within. We look within ourselves, within our team, to create sort of our own menu. So,
thank you, Dũng. So talk about ingredients. I would like to ask Matteo, because recently I have a chance to sample the white truffle menu from you, and your team is perfect. Vittorio Saigon is one of the places that have imported product, very high quality imported product, especially white truffle, maybe the most rare truffle in the world. So I would like to ask what your perception about ingredients for fine dining restaurant nowadays.
I think the perception of the ingredients right now for fine dining is evolving a lot in all the Southeast Asia, but especially in Vietnam. The people are really looking for something different, beside, of course, a casual restaurant, a casual experience. They are really looking to see something different and different product. We opened like the Vittorio Saigon around 1 year ago. So last year we started our white truffle experience menu around now in November. And I'm still joking with my truffle supplier, because when I tell him the first time, okay, give me the white truffle, I told him, okay, give me ½ kilo. I not even know if I can finish it in maybe 2 months. And we ended up we started the truffle menu on the 7th of November. We finished it on the 23rd of December, and we consumed 4.5 kilo of white truffle. Wow. So we really see that demand was really, really high. And so the people, I think they start to appreciate something different. But as the chef said, the perception of the people is quite different, because maybe when they come to an Italian restaurant, they are expecting the pizza. But Italian food is not just pizza and pasta. And when you come to a restaurant like the Vittorio, that globally has 9 Michelin stars, and so we are trying to give you an experience from the moment that you book the table until the moment that you walk out from the restaurant. So I think the way is long, because of course we are the first Italian fine dining in the country, but we are cutting a good segment of market for us. So to not be a restaurant just for a special occasion, but to be a restaurant like for a normal meal, where the people come and they can experience something different.
Because the majority of ingredients at your restaurant, I think, is imported. So what is your methods like to preserve the freshness and the high quality of it when it comes to Vietnam?
Yeah. So Chef Peter said before, for a restaurant, for a Western restaurant like the Vittorio, like La Villa, we have to use imported product, of course, because we have to follow certain standard and certain taste. But we are also, in our last year, we try to put a lot of local ingredients as well. We are using, as Chef Sakal said, the beautiful vegetable from Dalat. I recently started using the tasty menu also some local fish. At the beginning, I was just getting fresh fish from Europe, but I really taste a lot of local fish, and I found some that are really, really similar to the European fish. But yes, the freshness is something that we work at the beginning with our supplier, because the journey from Europe is very long to Vietnam. Yep. And I give you an example, the white truffle. So as you said, very, very particular ingredients, so needs a lot of attention. We train our team that when they enter the kitchen at 1 p.m., what they have to check first is the white truffle, the temperature of the chiller, and especially change the paper of the white truffle every day. Unfortunately, I see a lot of colleagues that when they receive the truffle, they put it into the rice, And that's one of the most biggest mistake ever.
I thought that a secret way to
No,
give.
that's really wrong.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, that's really wrong. If you want to have a truffle risotto, the truffle risotto is good. But to keep the truffle with the rice, no, because the truffle, the organic composition of the truffle is 80% water. So what happens if you put something that is made with water in the rice? It will get dry. So if you change the paper every day, your truffle will be perfect for 2-3 weeks. If you put in the rice, the truffle will be a potato in 3-4 days. So it has to be, I think, before you use certain ingredients, I think you have some knowledge and to try to do something different to preserve the products as much as possible, because there are products that are available maybe only a few months in a year. The price quite expensive, even because depends on the season. So I think I have to be really, really careful when you use some of these products. So we work very close with our supplier to make sure that everything's arrive on a perfect shape and perfect quality that we are looking for.
Yeah. So there's a question I would like to ask, like for chefs like Matteo, David, Peter, and Thảo Na, like, because you guys use a lot of imported ingredients to apply for your creative menus. So because climate change now is a big problem. So how you guys can have very good sources of imported ingredients, but still care about the sustainability and things like that?
So yes, the climate change right now is a very big problem.
Yeah.
It's not affecting only the sourcing of the product, but is affecting first of all the quality of the product and the price of the product.
Yeah.
Because we just reconnect with the white truffle things. In the last 2-3 years, in Italy, in summer is not raining enough for the white truffle. So when the season in Alba has to start beginning of October, they don't have the product. But the demand around the world is large and is getting more and more. So what happened? The price go up. Or the temperature of the sea. The temperature of the water is getting very, very hot. So the quality of the fish is getting damaged. So yeah, towards sustainable is really, really important. We try as much as possible, but as we said before, for a restaurant like us, it's not possible to be 100% with the local ingredients. But I think it's really, really important to move in that direction because, yeah, the situation, I think, is very, very critical, and it will affect a lot the restaurant business in the future. Yeah.
How about you, Peter?
I think, when we talk about sustainability and climate change, it's a very complex issue. There are many things involved. But I think as a chef, as a restaurant, we try our best to be personally responsible for the ingredient we use in terms of waste, recycling, and so on. But I think, as I mentioned, we start first with about 80% of ingredient come from Vietnam, which is all the fresh herbs, spices, fish we can use. Let's say we used duck from the Mekong Delta because very high quality, almost as good as the French duck, for example. But let's say the Vietnamese duck is not as good, and we really want to make a duck dish, then we will go to the best source possible, whether we in France or Australia. So I think at the end of the day, we're trying to make the best food for our guests, and we try to do that in the most responsible way possible. So let's say, we could be very strict and say we use only local ingredient, which is fine too, but that's quite limiting about the dishes, the food that we can do. Let's say now, if I want to put beef on the menu, and we need something with the texture and flavor of a Wagyu, and we don't have anything like that in Vietnam. Let's say we make a little banh mi that has a very small, we try to be responsible, we don't use too much, only about 15, 20 grams only. It's not too much. Yeah. But we need that for the flavor to make that banh mi, let's say, luxurious, more fine dining. It would be very difficult to do that with a piece of Vietnamese beef, for example. So we try to be responsible and try to use it only when we need to. We're not going to import all the ingredient, but I think if we could use 100% ingredient in Vietnam, we will use it. But I think for most important for us now, we're trying to create the best dish possible for our customer. And so if we need to use some, we would try to do it in the most responsible way possible.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter. How about you and David Thái?
For us, it's also very tidy. as well, but we cannot change the product like that. We're having a certain client already. From a new project restaurant, which is more smaller, and doing also very good name products, but we just make a small portion, like a foie gras or abalone, Wagyu, Japanese, whatever. But we were trying this year to find the source of the Wagyu to make it more suitable for the Vietnamese market, because we are based in Teppanyaki, which is more using Japanese Wagyu. But it's fine. I think this year is very hard for us, but we have to maintain the quality and just after to be ready for the next year coming. So we go into this business, we cannot go down. You have only one you maintain or one you pull out, That's fine. But it's quite tidy this year, but we try the max.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We cannot compromise the quality. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, how about you, Thảo Na?
Sorry, I don't understand. I don't understand.
The question. Yes, I would like to ask all the chef here, because your restaurant depend maybe mostly on imported ingredients. So do you find it challenging for you, because most of your recipe depend on imported ingredients, especially now it's climate change?
Yeah. So just for me, it's not too difficult. It's very easy. So I don't know why, but when I saw this products, and I know I can use it with this what, yeah, and like the Chef David and Chef Peter Cường, I always use some fish. Always use the fish and the dirt from the Vietnamese, and only beef I use the Australia. So
it's not a challenge for you at all.
Yeah.
Well, lucky you.
So actually, it's not a challenge for me, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Jesse, I think I should add that, let's say, for example, we do know that the quality of the beef is an issue, let's say, for Vietnam.
Yeah.
So there are things that can be done and couldn't be done, but it takes a long time. So there are some farmers, some group now are bringing in the Kobe and the Wagyu into central Vietnam. But it takes a really long time, if you look at Australia to US, to really start to grow and take care of these beef to get the quality that they need. It's just not like you cannot just bring in the whole cow. So there's a process of feeding and taking care of them, and it takes time. But some of these things are being done, but it will be a while before we can get the quality of the beef. Let's say, similar to standard to Wagyu, the way we don't have to go and use the import product anymore. But that process is starting to happen. So it's like we have more of this, then we can have more of this high quality ingredient that, let's say, the chef really need to deliver the food, then we can use more. We all try to be very practical. We want the best ingredient possible. So let's say if the French duck is the best one, we will use it. If the Vietnamese duck the best one, we will prefer that. But I think some of that will take time, and then we need to support some of the local producer farmers to start use these products when they, sometime now we at they will send us, for example, we do get now, they come to us, say, oh, Peter, we have some local Wagyu now that they start developing. So we can work with them a little bit to give them feedback, advice, let's say how to continue to develop these products further, so that when they get better, then more chefs and more restaurants in Vietnam can use, rather than using imported product that's not sustainable long-term for the environment.
Very interesting information. I have no idea about that before. So at SÄNG speak in the first panel is that Vietnam now on the way to develop our fine dining industry. So you think you as a chef, fine dining restaurant, how can you guys sort for a very trustful and effective suppliers of food compared to the time you first enter in Vietnam market, especially you 6 years ago compared to now?
I think,
how about the quality of suppliers?
Yes, well, I think one of the issues, I worked in Hong Kong and other countries in Asia, still, I think, like mentioned before in the early panel with Chef Sakao and Thierry, there's certain ingredients still quite difficult for us to access compared to our other chefs in the region. So to some extent, we do have a competitive disadvantage. Let's say if I was working in Hong Kong, I have a lot more access to ingredients I need very quickly. Instead of one supply, I have 10 suppliers I can choose from. In Vietnam, maybe we have only one, and if that supply is not good, then we don't have a good product. Sometimes we rely on the supplier. Let's say when you look at, let's say, a product like fish, when we're importing it in, the whole process, let's say the Japanese have the whole process down from the point of, let's say, taking care of the raising the fish to killing the fish properly, and the most important is freezing them properly before they get transported. The Japanese, their freezer is 40 to 60 degrees below. That means you basically can freeze a dinosaur, and that fish 100 years from now will be the same. You can actually taste that fish, and that's important for sushi. But in Vietnam, we don't have that process in place. So when, let's say, you can have a very good fish product from Phu Quoc or Nha Trang, only a couple, 1 or 2 hours, but by the time it gets to us, it's not in good condition anymore. So that process, we have to build within Vietnam to really ensure that the whole production process is the highest quality possible. So that, and then we need the good supplier, and we need to support them that have this process built in place. Let's say, in order to store something at 40, 60 below, we don't have any of those in Vietnam, for example. We don't have that, you cannot store the fish properly. The texture of the fish will change, the flavor will change. So, for example, now, when we buy imported fish, I only buy from Japanese supplier, for example, because many other suppliers I buy before, the texture can out mushy, it's not exactly like the fish before, it's very risky. So I think from the supply chain, we need to continue to support that and improve that process too, because they are a very important part from the producer, let's say the farmers or the fishermen, into the chef or into the home. That's very important, because that component, if it's not done properly, then the product will not be the same, will be deteriorated by the time it gets to us.
Any chefs want to share more the ideas on this?
Yeah, I think that, as Chef said, even the arrival of new restaurant and new chef really will help the market a lot, because the chef can share their own experience, and they ask for different products. Like in our case, there is a famous artisanal pasta brand in Italy called Mancini that is used in the Vittorio, and so I asked to have the Mancini in Vietnam, so we make the license for the Mancini here, where we use exclusively one kind of pasta, that is the packery for our classic dish, but now is available in the market for other restaurants with different format of pasta, or the cheese trolley. When I went to Laville, I was impressed about the cheese selection of Chef Thierry. So I was wondering to have something same in the Italian way, because the Vittorio in Italy has a cheese trolley that I think is like 4 meters with I don't know how many kind of cheese. But when I asked to the supplier, Parmesan, provolone, so very cheese for cooking. So I took 8 months to get all the license now to create in the Vittoria cheese trolley with 10 different Italian cheese, but they are coming from different small production. Or even like the pelati, and not the classic one. We are having a very special production from the south of Italy. So I think it will help a lot the market to get new product, and this is in the process to market to grow, and maybe to go very close to Thailand, because I think Vietnam, what is looking is to be on the same level of Thailand, when you have a very good street food, and where you can have a very good 2 Michelin star restaurant. So I think it's a process that it will happen in Vietnam. The country is growing fast. It's just a matter of time, and it's also the mindset of the people that I think is changing a lot.
Yeah. So thank you so much, our 5 chefs today. And thank you all the audience for joining us on the second panel. So now we move to the third panel with our host, Nguyên from Tri Hospitality, to speak about the cross-trend in fine dining in the industry. So give us a big hand for all the speakers today. Thank you so much.